Now let's go through some specialized create table syntax. Create global temporary table. Well, for instance, and we've got the schema name as well. So let's go to here and let's say create global temporary, and let's go back to here. Let's get the syntax on the screen so we can see it. Table, let's call it test. Schema shows dot, oh wait a minute, temporary table, yes. The schema goes first. You don't put the table name in there because that's the incorrect syntax. And we can also do is simple as select star from act. What this is going to do once again is copy the table metadata and the data. There is no data in there at the moment. Oh, this is wonderful. Create global, I got the syntax wrong, temporary, I did have it right to start with, table shows, it needs to know what you're trying to create, as select star from act. Now if we go back to the syntax diagram, create global temporary table schema dot etc etc. Now let's go back to here, hit return. Creates a global temporary table. What is a global temporary table? Well, let's go and find out. Control F, I'm in the create table global, the create table page. This, I searched through the document, through the same page, it gives me a description of what it is. It's a temporary table basically for doing reporting. Transaction, session specifics, very fast for certain things. Reporting basically. So now let's go back again. There are all sorts of other things that we want to go through here. There are all sorts of other specific pieces that we should go through here, and I can show you the syntax very briefly without going into too much detail. So that's a global temporary table. Now I'm going to show you a few other things. For instance, you can specify the name of the table space that the table data gets put into. A table space, if you remember, is a storage area within the physical structure of Oracle database. When you create an index within a table creation statement, you can assign it to an index, a specific index table space, which, as I told you before, you don't need to do that anymore. It was the norm a few years ago, but now it's an established or understood fact that when you read a database and you read an index in a table, it actually reads the index first in order to read the table. So it doesn't read them at the same time, so there isn't really any reason for separating them other than an aesthetic one that allows you to logically separate different types of structures. Obviously, if you create an index, and I'm not going to create anything specific, but we'll just say blah blah blah, well, on a table and a column, you can say table space and assign that to a table space as well. And we'll comment this out because not necessarily, and we have an error in there, not necessarily working command. This command would probably work. We don't have a table type in our current model. A logging clause. When you turn logging off, it means that many of the entries that go into the redo logging files when you make changes to the database will not be stored. So your database would not be recoverable with respect to that particular table and certain aspects of it, namely DML activity. There is still some information that is still logged even when you turn logging off. We already have a table called that. Let's say drop table test, and then again, this is something you may come across. Table space on user. I have to be connected to system. I'll explain this in a second. Just got to type it, can't think in parallel. What I'm doing is I'm saying that the user shows can create data inside a specific table space. For some reason it stopped me at this stage. To shows, I thought it actually had to be on a specific table space. Shows at SI, and yeah, there you go, solves the problem. It's a non-logging table, and obviously, okay, well I've already created that, so I was going to go back and show you that you could also create it with logging. Logging is the default. Let's go back to here, paste this,